All right, so you guys have seen linear equations, like things that fall perfectly into a line and are based on an equation. What we're going to be dealing with today are sets of data and how they can kind of fall into a linear pattern, which we call a scatter plot, and then we can make prediction equations that are based on linear functions. So first of all, there are three things that could happen if you're looking at a set of data. It could have a positive correlation, which would look something like this. You'd have a whole bunch of data points that when you plot them, whether they're close together or far apart or what, they basically end up kind of forming the pattern of a positive sloped line. So positive correlation means as one quantity increases, the other quantity increases, which makes it look like a positive slope. And then we have a negative correlation, which looks something like this. As one quantity is increasing, the other quantity is decreasing. And so your data is kind of set like that in a way that it kind of follows the pattern of a negative slope. So positive correlation, negative correlation, and then no correlation is if you were to plot your data and it's just kind of all over the place. It's really not fitting a pattern, doesn't kind of go up or go down, it's just spread around all over the place. So that's no correlation, meaning you couldn't find a line that would fit to the data. So this example, we've got some data right here. It's the mean selling price of new homes for 6 consecutive years. So first year, and then it goes all the way up through. So this is the mean price in thousands of dollars. So the first thing we're going to do is make a scatter plot. So when you guys are setting these up while you're working on the homework, set up axes like this, all right, and then you're going to label them. So this first quantity that goes on the top is always going to mark the x-axis. So our years are going to go here. And then our price is going to go here. Okay, and then you can label based on what you have with these points. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we'll just mark 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So make sure those are evenly spaced apart, because if you're going to see a pattern, you want to make sure that you've got the correct spacing. And then up this axis right here, you don't want to start with 0 because our lowest value here is 154. So what you do is you put a little squiggle into the graph to show that you're not starting at 0. You're going to kind of condense the graph a little bit and start at a new point. So we'll start at 150 and then we'll go up by 25. So this is 150,000, 175,000. 200,000, 225, 250, and 275. So again, make sure that these are equally spaced so that we can see the pattern if there is one. Okay, next we're going to plot these points. So the point 0 and then 154.5. So we start at 0 and then plot it. Do just your best estimate of where 154.5 would be, somewhere in between these two values. So definitely closer to 150, maybe around there. Okay, and then just keep doing that. Next, at 1, it's 166.4. So that would be right around halfway in between 150 and 175. 2 is 181.9, so that's above 175, probably a little closer to 175, you like that. 3 is at 207, so up just a little bit above 200. 4 is at 228.7, so that one's just a tiny little bit above the 225. So you can trace that over, so maybe right around there. And then 5 is at 273.5. So we have a little bit of a jump here, almost to the 275. Whoops, I wrote 273 because I saw that on the table. Sorry. All right, so it's not a perfect line. Like if you connected these dots, they wouldn't fall perfectly on a line, but they're pretty close. You can tell there's definitely a pattern. As the years go by, the price is increasing. So then a line of fit, you want to just kind of do your best and sketch in what you think a line of fit would look like. So I'm just going to grab a ruler. Okay, so to make the best line of fit, you want about half the data to be below it and half the data to be above it. So I'm going to draw maybe something like this. So you just do your best, estimate where you think it would fall. So something like that. Maybe you might want it to go a little lower, a little more slanted, whatever. Line of fit is something that you're sketching yourself. Describe the correlation. You want to put it into one of these three categories. This is definitely a positive correlation. It seems to have a positive slope as you're moving. All right, next, write a prediction equation. So you guys are going to be doing this in your homework. Write a prediction equation. You pick any 2 points. Now, I have some people that always pick the first and the last. That's fine. You could kind of go like this and go to the next 2. Pick any 2 points you want. I tend to go one from the beginning and one from the end. So you could get into that habit if you want to. So when you set up a slope, remember the slope is change in y over change in x. And so this is treated like your x value, and this is treated like your y value. So change in y, you do the second y value of 228.7 minus the first y value of 166.4. And remember, you don't have to use the values that I chose. And then over change in x, so this first x value is 4 minus the second x value, which is 1. So you can plug these values right into your calculator, because I know we're dealing with decimals here. So we are going to go 228.7 minus 166.4. I'm just plugging these in. You get 62.3. That's the change in price, and then 4 minus 1 is 3. That's the change in the number of years. So then divide those. 62.3 divided by 3. And I'm just going to round to the nearest tenth. You get about 20.8. Okay, so that's your slope. Then, remember, we learned how to make an equation by giving a point and a slope. So this is my slope. So remember, I'm trying to do this. Y equals mx plus b. So just pick a sample point. You can use one of the ones we use, like this one, for example. So remember, point slope form is an easy way to just plug in. So we start with this. So y minus, and the y value I'm using is 166.4, equals the slope, which I just found to be 20.8, and then x minus the x value I'm choosing, which is 1. Okay, so you're just going to simplify that up. So on this side, I'm going to distribute the 20.8. Okay, and then I'm going to add the 166.4 to both sides. Sorry, we're a little short on space here. So these cancel. So I get the y by itself. I have 20.8x, and then I'm going to plug this into my calculator. So a negative 20.8 plus 166.4. And that gives me a positive 145.6. So that's my prediction equation. Okay, next, predict the selling price of a new home for year 8. When it says to predict something, you're going to plug a value into your prediction equation right here. So we are predicting for x equals 8. And all we're going to do is take that x value and plug it into this equation right here. So y equals 20.8. We're plugging in 8 for x just into this equation, and then plus 145.6. So we can just plug this all in, and I will show you that. You can do 20.8 times 8 plus 145.6. You can just plug that in. And we get 312. So 312 is our prediction. Remember, it's in thousands, so we can write 312,000. All right, how accurate does your prediction appear to be? That's kind of an opinion, I suppose. The line fits the data pretty well, so I would assume that it is a fairly accurate answer. If the data was kind of all over the place, then it might not be the best prediction in the world. All right, so I think, yep, that's it for this video. All right, in this video, we're doing official lines of regression. So this is something that we are going to use our calculators to do. So make sure while you're watching this video that you have your calculator. Do this along with me so that you can practice it. You might even want to write down some step-by-step, steps that we took while we were doing this, okay? So we've got percent sales made in music stores right here. So years go by, we've got fewer sales happening in music stores, and I'm assuming, obviously, that's because things are happening online now. So use a graphing calculator to make a scatter plot of the data. So here is the part that you are going to want to follow my lead on. So make sure you have a calculator, make sure you're doing what I'm doing. All right, so here's your main screen. You're going to want to select this option, New Document. And then if there was anything open, no, you don't need to save it. We're going to do Lists and Spreadsheets. That's that fourth option there. So select that, and then you'll get basically like an Excel spreadsheet. So go up to the very top box right here, and then just type in year. So down in your alpha pad down there, you can type in year. And then we're just going to enter all of this data. So 1999, and hit enter. And then 2000, so you can type it in right here, right on this keypad. And then the enter button will take you to your next box. Then 2001, and hit enter. Next is 2002, and we're just going until we hit 2008. And just hitting enter as you go. Okay, so we've got all 10 years down the line there. So what you do after is you just take this arrow, go over to the right, and just arrow up until you get all the way to the top box. There we go. Whoops. Okay, so now that top one in column B should be highlighted, and just type in sales. Again, just down on your alphabet pad. Okay, we skip over that box. We don't need to put anything in there. Now we're going to type these in. So now type very carefully. So 44.5, and then hit enter. Same thing as before. You're just hitting enter to go to the next box. Then 42.4 in 2000, 42.5 for 2001. So I'm just going down the list, and I'm just entering in all of these pieces of data that we have. Okay, so make sure you're doing this along with me. Muscle memory. If you practice it, you'll actually remember how to do it. So you should have all those typed in. They should be lined up evenly with each other. So get all that done. If you don't have your data entered, please pause the video before I do this next step and make sure it's entered. So now we're going to add a new page to our document. So this control button, the blue one over here, I want you to hit that button first. And then this button that says document, if you look closely up above in blue, it says add page. Okay, and what we're going to add is option number 5 here, data and statistics. Okay, so now all of your data should look like that. All of the ordered pairs that you just entered into that table are just kind of spread all around because we haven't told them how to organize themselves yet. Okay, so we need to pick axes. So it should say click to add variable, click to add variable. So you're going to click right here. Maybe we can hit enter actually. We want to make the year go along the x-axis like that. So select year and hit enter, and your data will just fly and organize itself. It's actually pretty cool. So there it goes. So now it's all organized along the x-axis. You have all those years typed in. Now hit enter again. Oops, sorry. Go over here. Click down, or you can hit enter, and then select sales. And now it'll organize itself into a line. So it looks like that. So just like we thought, as the year goes on, the numbers are decreasing in terms of sales, which makes sense. This is kind of a loose correlation, though. This is not as strong as the other one was. Okay, so those are your steps to actually input your data. So there's your scatter plot that you have. Next, it says find a graph of, or I should say, of a line of regression. Okay, so now I'm going to teach you how to do this part. So your calculator should look like this. Now what you're going to do is hit the menu key. Okay, so you should have a menu that looks like that. And then you're going to select the fourth option, Analyze. So hit Enter. And then there's the regression lines right there. Okay, so go down to that sixth option, hit Enter again. And then you want to just select that first one, Show Linear Regression. So hit Enter. And it will give you that line. Okay, so that line that it plots right there, that is the perfect line of regression. It does a bunch of calculations to make sure that it's the best possible line. We call that the line of best fit. So the function that you have right there, you can write that down on your page, and that is your line of regression. And then we're going to do one more thing with it. So we've got y equals negative 1.44242 times x. It's a negative slope, which makes sense because it's a negative correlation, plus 2926.68. So that is your equation that we got off of our calculator. Then finally it says use the function to predict the percent of sales made in 2018. Okay, so for this step you're going to plug in 2018 right into the equation, and that's just going to go in there for x, and we're going to do the same thing that we did at the end of the last video. So y equals, take your whole function exactly the way it is, and then we're going to plug in 2018. That's our new x value to find a prediction. Okay, so all I'm doing right now, I'm just writing down what I'm about to plug into my calculator. So you can always, remember that control button and then document, you can add a new page because we need a calculator page to plug this in. So negative 1.44242 times 2018, that's what we're plugging in, so that's blocked, sorry. And then plus 2926.68. And then hit enter to get our prediction. So it thinks about 15.9%, which makes sense. That's still in the future. And not a lot of music sales are actually getting business. So that is our approximation based on our line of regression. All right.